now Jesus' actual response, his explanation of the parable of the sower. And then I'll move into his explanation of the parable of the wheat and the tares. Matthew 13:11. I ended with, said to them, which is in Matthew and Mark. Two questions asked, what might this parable be, and why speak you to them in parables? Because there were two questions asked, the answer to the second is in Matthew. Why speak you to them in parables? He answered, because it is given to you to know the mysteries of heaven, but to them it is not given. So Mark, the question is, asked him of the parable, and he said, to you it is given to know the mystery. So that's the answer to why speak you to them. To you it is given to know the mysteries. Luke, the question is, what might this parable be? And he said, to you it is given. Okay, so Mark and Luke are pretty much answering the question that is only stated in Matthew. After he answers that question, because, the word because is only in Matthew. To you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, that seeing they may not see, hearing they may not understand. Then he goes into the actual answer. Now the parable is this. That's Luke. Mark, know you not this parable? How then will you know all parables? The sower sows the word. Okay, so he gives the first explanation of why he's speaking in parables. Then in Mark, he's asking them the question back. Know you not this parable? Why don't you? Pretty much. How then will you know all parables? And then he explains it. So I'll have to include this after the first explanation, before the second. Matthew. Okay, so it's a longer explanation at the beginning. It's a very long explanation. Hear you therefore the parable of the sower. Okay, wow. 7 verses, and then he gets into the actual explanation. Because it is given to you to know. Mark, to you it is given to know. So what should I do? I'm definitely going to start with because. To you it is given to know. To you it is given to know. I'm going to go with the way it's written in Mark and Luke. I'll start with because, but then I won't go right into it is given to you to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven. Instead, I'll say because to you it is given. So Matthew first, because to you it is given. All those words are there in Matthew. To you it is given. So yeah, all those words are there, all three. To you it is given. Luke continues, to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God. Mark says, to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. Mysteries or mystery? Matthew says, to know the mysteries, plural, of the kingdom of heaven. Again, it's pretty much just destroying the idea that the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven are different, because his response is the same. It's just mentioned differently in Matthew. Okay. To know the, I'm going to go with mysteries instead of singular mystery from Mark. Mysteries of the kingdom of the kingdom of the kingdom of. Okay, so that's all three. Of the kingdom of. And again, because there are other mentions in Mark and Luke and John where it only ever says the kingdom of God, just for diversity's sake and to show that there is some difference, whenever there's an option, I'll always go with the kingdom of heaven, because that's only from Matthew and it would be more rare. I don't want to just get rid of it because the majority is kingdom of God from the others. So Matthew only, heaven. I would change it if Mark and Luke and John all saying the kingdom of God. I would stick with that. but to others in parables. That's Luke. Mark says, but to them that are outside, all these things are done in parables. So a lot more in Mark. Matthew. But to them it is not given. But to them that are outside, all these things. Mark and Luke both say in parables. Only Matthew says it is not given. That's a direct opposite to what's already mentioned earlier in Matthew and Mark and Luke. It is given to you, and I want to say then it is not given to them. So I'm leaning towards what Matthew says, but to them it is not given. Maybe I'll have all the rest of the words from Mark. But to them that are outside, all these things are not given. But to them that are outside, all these things are not given. And then from Matthew, but in parables. So I'd be using the word but something twice, but I think that would work. So I'm going to save this but to them from Matthew. So I'll skip over to Mark, but to them that are outside. Luke says, but to others. Should I say to them that are outside? Or should I say, but to others? I'll say others. But to is both Mark and Luke. But to, and then only Luke, others. In parables. Matthew, but to them it is not given. I want to put it is not given. Mark, but to them that are outside, all these things are done in parables. But to others that are outside. So I could have others instead of them that are outside. I believe that's only Mark. That are outside. Others in parables, yeah. But to others, Mark only that are outside. All these things are done in parables. I'm going to save in parables for the end. All these things I really want to put are not given, because it's contrary to what is considered for them. It is given to you to know the mysteries. It is not given from Matthew, but to others in parables. I think I can have them both. But to others that are outside, it is not given, but in parables. It would be using the word but twice. I think it'd be okay though. If I could use the word except, that would be great, but I'm not going to retranslate. So just in parables in Luke. That's all that's left. So I only really have to consider combining Mark and Matthew. All these things are not given. I'm thinking maybe I could say, but to others that are outside, it is not given. But all these things are done in parables. But to them it is not given. Oh, I got a great idea. I could say, but to others that are outside, Matthew, skip to them, and go right to, it is not given. Then I can use that to them from earlier and finish with what Mark says. All these things are done in parables. So it would read, but to others that are outside, it is not given. To them, all these things are done in parables. That would fit wonderfully. This to them is not used yet from Matthew. but to them it is not given. So I can move the to them to after. I don't think it would fit quite as well if I did it the other way. But to others that are outside, all these things are done in parables. To them it is not given. I want to start out with, to you it is given, but to others that are outside it's not given. The first thing he mentioned about the disciples versus the others is that it is given or it's not given, and then he goes further with the disciples to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, and to the others all these things are done in parables. So yeah, it would fit well. To you it is given, but to others that are outside it is not given. It is not given. And then I'm saying to them is the next sentence, even though it's not really the beginning of a sentence. But it still works. Mark, all these things are done in parables. Luke says in parables. So all these things are done is Mark only. In parables is both Mark and Luke. To them, all these things are done in parables. That works out perfectly fine. Mark, that seeing they may see. That seeing they may see, and hearing they may not understand. Okay, so this explanation is given more wording in Matthew. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance, but whosoever is not, from him shall be taken away even as he has. I think this was already written. I remember it was in Mark. Okay, yeah, he does explain. Take heed what you hear, with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you, and to you that hear shall more be given. For he that has, to him shall be given, and he that has not, from him shall be taken even that which he has. Let me see where Luke has it. Luke has it in the same place later. After he says, when he has lighted a candle. That comes much later in Mark. It's not at the beginning. Is a candle brought to be put on a bushel, verse 21. And then in 24 he says, so you that hear shall more be given, for he that has, to him shall be given, 25. So Mark and Luke have this, whoever has will get more, whoever has not will have taken from him. Both Mark and Luke have that later, so I'm going to go with that. Instead of having it early like it is in Matthew, I'm just going to move this one verse, 12, to later. So I'll skip to verse 13. Therefore, speak I to them in parables.